I'm aware that it's been a minute. Welcome back to my seminary life. I'm your host, Brandon Knight, and I would be lying if I said that there was a moment where I thought I would not say that again. It's been an interesting few weeks since the last time I was here talking to you all, and in today's little catch-up episode, we're going to catch up. I'm going to explain what's been going on and shed some light on what's going to be happening. I've been trying to keep social media updated as best as I can with what's going on, or at least reassuring people that, the show will be continuing. But I have come to realize pretty early on that the best way to communicate to everybody is to go through the microphone. So at some point I had to get back here. So here we are. What in the world, Brandon, has been going on? Because if you have been following along with the show for a bit, you will realize that it's been a few weeks now since the last time I was on here to discuss hermeneutics. Actually, there should be, we're in the middle of the hermeneutics series. There's still 2 more episodes to go, but I kind of dropped off the face of the earth there. And, the series never got finished. Here's the good news. The series will be finished, okay? We will be finishing the hermeneutics series with a talk on biblical criticism and then a review of Reading While Black by Esau McCaulley. That will be the final 2 episodes for the hermeneutics series. You will be getting those. There's a few other things you're going to be getting, but the first and foremost is an explanation. As I guessed going into this summer, we've had a very busy summer. There's been a lot going on of good things, all good things, mostly. Just a lot of family time, family activities, just like I anticipated, and I thought doing the summer school and summer camp format would be helpful. I could kind of plan ahead, get everything together, and release it all at once versus trying to meet a weekly deadline. I thought that would be helpful, and it kind of was in a way, at least on the studying and the end of things. It was kind of nice to just get it all in. But on the recording side, there actually were, I would say, the majority of episodes I still ended up recording the night before they were supposed to come out. That's how busy the summer was, that even with 3 weeks to sit down and record a whole 5 episodes, some of them I did record ahead of time because they had guests in them, but with the majority of them still being solo, there were a lot of these episodes that I ended up recording the night before the episode was supposed to drop. The difficulty originally that happened was that when the final 2 episodes of the hermeneutics series was supposed to come out, that week was just incredibly busy, and I could not get time to sit down and finish those 2 episodes and to get them out. That's it. That is the whole explanation. I was busy, okay? But then things started to kind of fall apart a little bit. So the week was really busy. Just had a hard time having time even to sit down and record the first 3 episodes, let alone get the final 2 out, which still has not come out. And somewhere in all of that, it's been so long now, a whole 3 weeks, and my memory's a little fuzzy. I had a bit of a mental health issue. It's no matter, at this point in my life, no matter how healthy I am, no matter how many preventative measures I take, there is still once every so many months, once every few months, I have a really bad patch. Couple days where I'm not okay, where I'm really not okay. And like I said, I still do what my counselor prescribes. I still do all of my healthy habits, but even within the best of my abilities, no matter what, there is still every so many months a very bad health time for me. And that happened right after I missed the cutoff for these last 2 episodes of hermeneutics. I had my quarterly mental health breakdown, my mental illness just skyrocketing. It was time for my quarterly breakdown. After my quarterly breakdown, and I'm trying to like pick up the pieces of my life and get things back on track, I'm embarrassed to say the Olympics started, and some of you listening know that I love the Olympics, and when the Olympics are on, it's one of the few sports where, sporting events, I should say, where it will be on basically all day. Producer Cooper and I watched a lot of the Olympics. He got really into fencing, even running around yelling "en garde" and swinging his arms around and the whole thing. He really enjoyed fencing. So really busy summer, really busy week, had my quarterly mental health crisis. Olympics starts. Finally, the dust settles because, the Olympics wrapped up earlier in August. We're here it's like the 25th or something, 24th of the month as I'm recording this. Still, not only have I not gotten the Hermeneutics series wrapped up, there's a whole pile of YouTube videos I've been meaning to record. Reorientation was supposed to come out by now. Demonology is supposed to be starting. Like, I'm very much behind, right? What gives? Why can't you just sit down and finish this? Why can't you just get caught up, right? And what was interesting is that, as I'm dusting myself off and getting everything put back together with my mental health, there was this weird, for lack of a better scientific word, there was a weird yuckiness just still stuck to me. There was a little bit of muck still just really stuck to me. It's been a really good year. I've been keeping track of like a lot of the major. It's like every month this year, there's been some major, really cool thing that has happened, and it has been a good year. But there has been a continuing narrative, a continuing issue that's been going on throughout this year, and I think I've talked about it here on the show, but I know I've talked about it with people outside of the show for certain, of just my general disillusionment towards American Christianity, the American church, and how American Christians operate. I have a not great relationship right now with wanting to go to church and wanting to be around other Christians. Now, let me just clarify before you all start worrying that there's some big announcement coming. No, this isn't the announcement of I'm no longer a Christian. I'm still very much a Christian. I believe in Jesus. I love Jesus. I give my life to him. I love following him. It's the rest of it that I have a problem with. And it's just been very hard. And I've had to sit in it in different ways throughout the year, trying to process it. Sometimes I get to a point where I think, okay, I'm going to be okay. I'm okay with things. I'm okay with how it is. We're going to move on. I'm going to move forward. And then something comes up. I see something on Facebook, whatever. And I'm like, forget all of you. Forget all of it. I want to treat my house like a monastery. And I'm just a monk who's going to sit here and read my Bible and read my books and just not interact with any of the Christians anymore because I can't stand you people anymore. Terrible mentality to have, but that's where I've been at a lot of this year. And it's scary and hard when a guy who many would say is a pastor, even though I'm not in a church setting, but still very much have the gifting and mentality towards pastoral ministry. It's kind of striking when he says, I don't want to go to church. I've really have like had this heavy weight and burden against going to church all year. So I've had this, this recent breakdown. It's been a busy time period in general. I've had this weight of just this weight towards American Christianity, this leftover yuckiness goo from my last mental health breakdown. And it's just like, even though I was feeling fine, I have predominantly felt myself again, my healthy self again over the past 2 weeks or so. Like, I've felt a lot better, But with all of this just kind of compounding on top of each other, I've been very lethargic. I've been very apathetic. I've been very like, I just don't want to do this anymore. Referring to the show. I sometimes I get in this headspace of like, what am I really doing here? Am I actually making an impact? Is this really doing anything, or is this just me talking into the void? It's just me talking to a bunch of people who are going to agree with me anyway? Like, what is going on here? What is this all? Should I just hang it up? And that's where I was at. I was very much in this space of, that's all, folks. We're done. I'm done with content creating. I'm done with all of this. I am living the monk life because you all have ruined it for me. That's kind of the place that I was in. And I have to be honest and say, I'm still not 100%. I don't know if I ever will be. This side of glorification, I don't know if I ever will be 100%, to be honest. But I'm still not quite 100%. But after my last counseling session, which was pretty recently, I've started making some new changes. And one of those new changes that I've been making in my life recently is I'm trying to rewire myself. I mean, I'm doing it with a counselor, obviously, but like I'm basically trying to rewire myself, because it has finally occurred to me that, you know, that joke about when you go into a job interview and you get asked the inevitable question of, what are your weaknesses? And, you know, it's the joke is like, I care too much. I work too hard, you know, like that. I'm not saying this jokingly or really to pat myself on the back. I really do work too hard. I really do put too much work into everything that I do. And I think there's a whole list of reasons why that I do not plan on going into right now. I think some of it is self-serving. I think some of it is people-pleasing. I think some of it is for self-protection, honestly. I have to feel like I am in control. And one of the best ways for me to feel like I am in control of my life and my situations around me, because oftentimes they do not feel secure, one of the ways that I do that is by over-structuring everything and not letting the structure fall apart. And if the structure does fall apart, I fall apart and I feel like a failure, and change really scares me. Okay? And so I over-structure everything to make me feel safe, to make me feel like I'm in control. What is ironic about that is that my over-structuring is exhausting. So either I live in a state where I feel uncomfortable and unsafe because I'm not structuring anything, or I continue to over-structure everything and I continue to exhaust myself. I am my own worst enemy. And that's when I realized that my wife was right, for however long she's been telling me this now, that I need to show myself some grace. That the solution isn't to throw structure out the window, because some form of structure does make me feel safe. But at the same time, I cannot be a slave to the idol of overstructuredness. I cannot continue to bow down to this. I need to give myself some grace for when the structure needs to change, for when I don't live up to my own structural expectations. I need to give myself some grace so that way I can continue to live healthy within my safety bubble that I have constructed. And honestly, along with Claire, just for however many years now, continuing to hammer home the fact that I need to show myself some grace and not work so dang hard and all the dang time. Honestly, my job as being a ninja coach at the YMCA has kind of helped with this too, because as opposed to retail, where it really did, it reinforce this mentality of I'm not working hard enough, I need to work harder, push myself more, the whole thing. This job I'm in an environment where even if you do structure things, and even if the plan has to change, it's okay. As long as the kids are happy at the end of the class, as long as everyone's safe, it's okay that it is okay that things change. It's okay that the structure has to move. It will be okay. And my job has kind of helps me become more comfortable with this. Actually, working at this place has helped me get more comfortable with other things as well. That's not related to this conversation at all. Anyway, so I'm in this like healing process still, a very long healing process, I imagine, but I'm still in this healing process right now. And that then brought me back to right here, right now, this show. Like, what is next? Because another thing I noticed as I'm in this very apathetic mode is that not only did I not feel like doing anything, my creativity was gone. And I know this sounds strange, but that was a big red flag for me. The fact that my imagination and creativity ran dry, that was a big red flag. And every very artistic person, whatever your artistic thing is, they know what I'm talking about. That when when you hit that dry season, when you hit that writer's block where it's like nothing is happening anymore, I can't come up with anything, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing, when you hit that like creativity block, that's very concerning. And I hit a creativity block where I'm like, I don't know, like, why would I do this anymore? I don't want to do this anymore. I cannot picture what this show looks like anymore. Like, there was so much there, and I was like, I am so creative. Again, weird brag, right? like I am so creative. Just ask Claire, ask my mom. Since I was a little kid, I've had an overactive imagination. And the fact that my overactive imagination finally shut down, I was like, what is going on with me? I've been in different periods of mental health illness modes where my imagination is still fine. I used to write poetry a lot when I was in college to help me like process my pain. They were all emo songs, but and they weren't good, but that was still like a creative thing that I was doing. I was dry at this point very recently. But what's interesting is that in this process of giving myself grace and kind of bringing in this Lutheran mentality of living life under grace, and that all good things come from God and they're all glimpses of his grace, and being able to say to myself, you can stop working around the house now. Being a stay-at-home parent, I feel like I have to constantly be doing something around the house, playing with Cooper, doing laundry, I'm sure other parents out there know what I'm talking about, of like sometimes you just get in this frame where you're like always supposed to be doing something, right? Or even, that's like a toxic mentality you see in ministry sometimes, of like you're always supposed to be ministering somehow. Like, I get in this, but trying to give myself grace to say, you can just sit and drink your coffee for a moment. Like, Cooper's fine. Curious George is on. He's got his blocks. He's fine. The laundry's going. Sit down and finish your cup of coffee. Life will go on. Enjoy life. Weird thought, right? Coming from a Christian, reminding you all that it is okay to stop and enjoy life, because when we enjoy life under grace, we bring glory to God. It's an act of worship to enjoy the good things that God has given us, rather than to continue to push ourselves to live up to some expectation that we're putting on ourselves, or that culture is putting on ourselves, whatever the case may be. So as I kind of continue to sit in this like life of grace that I'm trying to give myself and figure out how grace and still some form of structure to help me feel safe can fit together, I realize that other people with kids, other stay-at-home parents, other people with jobs, they can figure out how to have a weekly podcast with bonus episodes and YouTube content and all the things. They can all figure it out. I can't, and that is fine. And that is okay. And it's kind of hard even still to say that, but if I can't live up to the industry standards, that's fine. I'm okay with that. Because at the end of the day, I know that this show isn't really done. I know it's not. It's not an infinite list. I do think that someday my seminary life will come to an end. But I've got a list of all these things, all these different series that I still want to hit. And there's some of them I'm still really passionate about doing. I am really excited for the demonology series. I'm very excited for this. I want to do this series still. I want to finish hermeneutics. I've got so much on the horizon that I still want to do. It's not an infinite list. I think my seminary life will come to an end one day, but it's not anytime soon. Because I don't think the work that I want to do here on the show is done. And you know what? Even though I was feeling very creatively dry, I know for a fact that I could start 7 podcasts tomorrow. I could start a dozen more shows tomorrow if I really had the time and the energy and could actually make money off of it. I could do it. But yeah, I gotta be realistic, right? Gotta be realistic. All that to say is that no, my seminary life is not done. We did this a couple years ago, shortly after Cooper was born, that the show had to take a big pivot, right? Well, and technically we had to do it again when I graduated, but that was a different kind of pivot. We kind of hit this mark of am I going to be able to keep this show going? And I'm here again to let you all know, yes, the show will go on. But it's going to be different, and I'm not going to live up to the industry standards, and I'm okay with that because I got to give myself some grace. Either I give myself some grace and make a pivot and revamp how I do things, or we're done. That's all, folks. And I honestly don't want it to be that's all, folks. Once I can get past all of the muck, all of the distaste in my mouth towards American Christianity, once I can get past all of that, I know, no, the work's not done yet. I want to go on, and there's so much other things I want to do. So, what in the world is going to happen next? Well, first off, I'm going to take my mom's advice, and these episodes are going to go back to being shorter. We're going to wrap up here soon. When I have a guest on, I can't control that because I have very wise, insightful, and very long-winded friends who like to be on the show. Sorry, guys. So it's not, those episodes might be longer, but when it's just me, I just need to get on here, do the thing, and move on. And I know that sounds like I'm just checking the box and moving on, and maybe a little bit, especially to get caught up here at first, but that's what I need to do to keep the show running. The other thing that might be the big change that's coming is that there will be probably gaps between series now, maybe long gaps where I am going to actually sit down and record all of the episodes and then release them all as a series one week after another and then move on. There may be some random filler episodes here and there. I want to still keep up with like the specials that come out through the year, like of Monsters and Luther coming up in October, things like that. But I think moving forward, as much as I would like to keep a mostly around the year format, I'm gonna have to take breaks every once in a while. Producer Cooper, before you go to bed, do you want to say something? He came in here and then he ran away. Cooper, do you want to talk for a second? He's just avoiding going to bed. This is what podcasting with real life sounds like, folks. Your son just barges into your recording studio / bedroom to avoid going to bed. I guess he doesn't want to say anything. We'll see if we can get him on the show here pretty soon. I know it's been a while since producer Cooper has made a cameo. And he can actually say words now, folks. He can actually like talk a little bit. He's never going to have he will not be a child star, I can tell you that much. He's going to be much older before him and Dad are going to start their own show together. I have ideas already of what our first podcast together could look like, but he's got to be a lot older. I don't want him to be a child star. Anyway, what were we talking about? I don't remember. Revamping, right. So it's going to look different, but I think the blessing in disguise, to use another cheesy church line, the blessing in disguise here is that moving more into this format where I'm going to be block recording and releasing when I can, I think this might actually create, at least that's my hope, more time in the week for me to sit down and work on other projects. You know, I have several other shows that I want to get started, and they're not going to be able to get started unless I have time and freedom and the energy and not apathy and the creativity to do it. And so if giving myself grace and functioning more in this format where it's going to be more like seasons and here's a bunch of episodes and then see you in a couple weeks for the next batch, and that allows me to maybe get a couple other projects up off the ground and they can follow that format too, that would be awesome. Because honestly, I feel very passionately about My Seminary Life, and there's other shows that I think would be great to get started as well. And here's the producer again. Now, do you want to say something?
Say goodnight.
Say goodnight. Okay. He just smiled at it. We'll get him on here eventually. Don't worry, folks. I know you're all dying to hear from him. I was on a recording with Joe recently for Buddy Walk with Jesus, and it was going great, and then he just kind of barged in the room, and I don't know if Joe could see him based off of the camera, and like Cooper's still kind of short, but Joe totally could tell what was going on because he got like this big grin on his face, and I'm like trying to stay engaged in the conversation. Anyway, a lot of fun. So My Seminary Life is not going anywhere. It is going to be looking different, but if we keep things different, the show will go on. And fingers crossed, best case scenario, we get caught up, the show keeps going, and this will be the birth of more shows on the back end of it. And I'm excited for it. I really am. It took me a bit to actually get to the excited part for it. I think that was also part of the holdup to get to this point to record this episode was, am I going to actually be at peace with this decision? And I am. So we're moving forward. And that is it for today's episode. Again, trying to keep things shorter when it's just me. So you will still be getting the final 2 episodes of Hermeneutics, fingers crossed, very soon. You will be getting the reorientation episode when I can get to it, and then we will be recording to release the demonology series. And like I said, there's also a whole pile of just YouTube videos I've been meaning to record for a while now. I think some of these non-episode related videos always do really well, so I want to get on with those. Current projects that do exist, make sure you follow this show on social media, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. I also have another Instagram page called Going Collecting, where I highlight the things I'm getting to build my collections. So if you're into comic books, vinyls, pop figures, and very recently I've gotten back into Pokemon card collecting. So if any of those things are of interest to you, I also have a new addiction for buying little golden books, mostly for my son, but I've get myself some every once in a while. So if any of those things interest you, that's just a Instagram page. There's not a show or a blog or anything related to it. You can also follow my other Facebook page, The Confessing Church, which is all about the writings and life of Dietrich Bonhoeffer and his contemporaries. There is the plan to eventually launch a podcast related to that. This is all off of the back end of the Summer of Bonhoeffer series from last summer. I think that this is something we need more of in our current theological discussion. So we're going to get some more Bonhoeffer out there to you all. And stay tuned for later this week. Make sure you're following the Anazao Ministries podcast network, because there's a lot of new shows coming out, and there's a trailer dropping later this week that you don't want to miss. But if you like this show and you want to support it, make sure you rate and review the show wherever you get this, wherever you listen to it. Share this episode with a friend. Okay, maybe not this episode specifically, but share the show with a friend. And if you'd like to financially support the show, you can always head into the description of this episode to find the link to buy merch, or head on over to buymeacoffee.com/MSLpod, where you can leave a one-time donation, or you can support the show at one of our monthly tiers. Both of them get you access to exclusive blog posts. One of them gets you shout-outs here on the show. So consider supporting the show that way as well. This is Brandon signing off, reminding you for the first time in a while that theology is for everyone. So keep on studying.